Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General. Also with us, Glenn Ignacio, a retired Air Force Special Operations Commander. Gentlemen, welcome. Israel saying they will not restore power in Gaza until all the hostages Hamas took are released. General Tata, let me go to you first. What could be left in the stockpile? How long can this last?
Yeah, hey, great to be with y'all, team. Honestly, I think Israel has the right approach here to cordon Gaza Strip off and get after its hostages, our hostages, U.S. hostages being held in there. And a cordon and search is what needs to take place, and that's sounds like what they're doing. And I think the labyrinth of tunnel networks underneath Gaza that extended into southern Israel do pose a threat, and all that rubble creates great defensive spider holes and that kind of thing for snipers and suicide bombers to come charging out of. So it's a tough slog ahead. I think there's probably a lot of munitions left in these tunnels and in the rubble. And I think that given the ferociousness with which Hamas is going after this, that it's not going to be an easy fight.
Yeah, about 5:40 local time there, more smoke. So obviously here, more firing upon the Gaza City in this area. We've seen this again continuing once the night does begin to fall. Commander Ignacio, I wanted to talk to you about that. In terms of booby traps, in terms of the difficulty that that the IDF will face going into Gaza, are these airstrikes meant to deter that? Are these airstrikes meant to soften the ground for them to walk through? What will they face walking into Gaza should this ground incursion, and it is likely, what would they be facing, Commander?
Sure. Well, the first thing is, we call it preparing a battlefield. That's something you've probably heard many times before, especially with the conflicts we engaged with in Iraq and Afghanistan. But when they actually enter the Gaza, first of all, Gaza's, of course, very dense, and some of the streets are very narrow. So as they go in with tanks and possibly other armor, it's certain areas are not going to be accessible. So there's going to be a lot of dismounted troops going by, basically foot as they go step to step through these buildings. But here's the other thing. It's a three-dimensional battle space there. You have the buildings so people can be way up in the building shooting down. So it's not just like you're sitting on the ground and watching things unfold. You also have those tunnels, as you mentioned, that, hey, they could pop up behind you. So this is a 360 fight. They're going to have to look all about, before, in front of them, behind them, and all around. And as the general mentioned, booby traps and all that, they have had years to prepare for any type of siege or invasion like this. And that is something that you're really going to have to face. It's a dangerous and dirty fight going forward.
And yet the IDF forces are calling in at least 300,000 reservists. General Tata, how does that work when you've got people who could be coming from all over the world? Perhaps they haven't served in the military in decades. Sort of how quickly can they inject themselves into the current forces?
Very quickly. I have a close friend. His son and his son-in-law have both been called up, and they're there. They left their locations and their current employment, and they are suited up and ready to fight. Israel is very experienced at mobilizing their reserves. They're very focused on their national defense. They're very unified and their sense of purpose here. And I see them very quickly getting the troops where they need to be. They've got a strategic fight where they've got to hold the Golan in the north against a second front. That's where the United States can help with the aircraft carrier group, strike group that's coming in to the Eastern Med. And also, President Biden needs to message to Iran, we need to shut off those billions that are going. We need to enforce the sanctions. We need to assist with intelligence sharing. There's a lot that we can do to help this fight also.
There have been calls from Republican lawmakers to freeze up that $6 billion that's being held in the Qatari bank right now. We'll wait and see what ultimately happens from this administration. Our thanks to General Tony Tata and Commander Glenn Ignacio. Gentlemen, we appreciate it.